I'd like to formally start this video off by saying I'm sorry to everybody. That I'm sorry comes at a few different talking points. One is for being very inactive on this channel. Two is for not keeping you guys up to date on the whereabouts and what's going on with my life. And three, purposely doing those two things. So, I think that the premise of this video is going to be a continuation of where the saga of my DCP application experience left off at, which was the start of the application. The last time I did a video in front of my webcam for the DCP was the same day the applications came out, and I made that video before I even applied. So, some stuff has happened since that video, and now I'm going to run you through the motions of what exactly happened, because it's been a lot, and then I just need you to, hopefully try and wrap your head around what's happened. I've done this video a few other times, I've tried recording it, but I can't get it to come out just right the way I like it. And they've all been really long, like about a half hour long, and that's because it's a big, it's a big issue. It's a big story. But I'm going to try and, get to the chase a little bit quicker this time. So, on the last Monday in August, I believe the last Monday in August, don't quote me on that. Whatever that video went up, that's a Monday. And that was the day that the Disney College Program applications went out. And I applied in the first, I guess, grouping of people. Everybody that applied, like, that morning. That would be Corey and I both. And so we pretty much breezed through the initial application, which is just, a lot of background info and making sure that, you're qualified for what you say you want to do. To make sure that you're not an absolute idiot just wanting to work in Disney. So, it's a lot of background stuff. So I pretty much breezed through that. Then I have the web-based interview, and breezed through that. Those both happen that Monday, and it's like a few hour lapse between the two also. And there are people that wind up waiting like weeks to go from like step 1 to step 2, and the fact that they both happen within a 4-hour time span was pretty insane, actually. And let me tell you, that's where my luck begins. It's also where it also ends, as far as speedy consistency with the Disney College Program and me. So after the web-based interview, you get to move on to a phone interview if your application was good enough and you scored high enough on the web-based interview. So Corey and I both get our phone interviews. We schedule them for that Wednesday. And hers is in the morning, mine's a little bit later. Mine's at about 3-4 o'clock. And hers is like 11 a.m. So there's a little bit of time difference now. Before, we're pretty much neck and neck. We both started the application at the same time, finished the application at the same time, started the web interview at the same time, finished the web interview at the same time. And this is where difference starts to build up. So hers is in the morning, mine's in the afternoon. And she does a fantastic job in her phone interview. And that's when the drift starts to happen. Next up for their phone interview was me. And I go get the call, like 10 or so minutes late. But, they say, we might be 15 or so minutes late calling you. So, don't be too worried if your phone interview's at 4 and they call it like 4:08. You're not totally dead yet. So, I get the call, pick up, hello, this is Darren, how can I help you? Hi, this is such and such from Walt Disney Casting and Recruiting. We'd like to, is now a good time to do your phone interview? Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Okay, first I just have to ask a few questions. Are you currently enrolled in college? Yes, ma'am, I am. This is my first semester right now. Oh, so you're a freshman? Yes, ma'am, I am. Have you started yet? Nope, I start on Monday. Monday is my first day. Pretty much 5 days or so away. Oh, I'm sorry. What? We don't accept freshmen anymore for their second semester to be in the Disney College Program. Huh? What? My girlfriend had her phone interview today, and, she's, the same exact position as me, and she got a web and a phone interview, and she got everything, and everything's fine with her. Like, no, we just had this meeting. Like, it literally just happened. That's why I was late calling you. I'm sorry. So, on the website it says that you can't do that, but you can? Huh? What? Yeah, it's a brand new rule. We're not allowed to do freshmen anymore because people are doing it just for the college program, and we don't like that happening. So, apply in the spring. Sorry. Have a good day. Alright. And so after that I cried for about, 8 hours. Not literally. But, I was very upset, but I wasn't determined to let that be the end. That sounded really obscure and confusing. So I was like, I'm gonna call Disney Casting, but first I'm gonna write them an email. So I wrote them an email, and nothing happened. I waited about an hour or so, nothing happened. So I go to the DCP Facebook group, and for those of you guys who are in the DCP Facebook group, you might possibly remember this, because this was a lot of talk, because there are a lot of freshmen applying, and I'm like, hey guys, we might not be able to do this semester, and everybody's like, what? And so, it kind of became a very, polarizing, taboo subject, where people are like, what's going on with this guy? What's he saying? Why is this happening? Like, what's he doing? And the simple response just became, he's trolling everybody, and he just wants other people to not apply so he can get in and you won't. Well, that's where you're wrong, because that makes no sense. So, I had put a few questions out there on the Facebook group, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Does this make sense to anybody else? And everybody's like, no, of course not. So I'm like, what do I do? Like, call Disney Casting. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I call them, I wait on hold for about an hour, and then I go to the wonderful place known as Google. I type in what their hours of operation are, and they close at 5. So I sat on hold between 5:15 and 6 to 6:15 on hold for absolutely nothing. And rather than just saying, oh hey, we open up tomorrow, or we're on break or something, it's just on hold for 12 hours. And so I was very upset, and I worked overnight at McDonald's. Oh my god, now I gotta go to work and deal with this. So I go in, whatever. I'll handle this in the morning, I guess. I'm going to call casting the second they open up, and I'm going to get the situation handled. I am determined to get this on hold, and everything in my life had kind of bunched up at this point. Like I said, I worked overnights at McDonald's, and that week, actually, I was supposed to work 50 or so hours, and I got cut back to 12 hours because they were getting rid of all the overnights. They don't do overnights hours anymore, except for Friday and Saturday night. And so I was scheduled to work overnight every single weekend, but I ended up working 3 hours each night because they started closing at 11. So I'm in this weird spot for this day, this Wednesday, when I'm told, oh, hey, we don't need you really anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, I deal with Disney. And that's another, oh, okay. And next thing you know, I am pretty much out of a job and out of a future job as far as where I was standing. And that hit me kind of hard, because this is shortly after I had just, decided to not go away to college. And I'm like, I'm going to, go to school during the day, then I'm going to work overnights, or go to evening classes and stuff. And so I just made my schedule to function with that, and now I have no job to coincide with it. And I pretty much just dropped out of school, and then I'd pretty much just lost my job, and then I was pretty much kicked out of Disney on a technicality, and that day just wasn't a good day for me. So I get home from work at, midnight or so, and I'm like, you know what, we're going to try again tomorrow. I'm going to wake up nice and early, and I'm going to call Disney Casting. So I applied on Monday, got, the web interview on Monday, and then that Wednesday was my phone interview. So we're now up to Thursday in week 1 of the Disney College Program applications. So I begin to question my sanity almost, because I hadn't gotten a reply from Disney involving anything yet, and I haven't heard back from anybody yet. And I'm kind of like, is this, like, am I not supposed to be going? Like, is there some sort of driving force that's preventing me from participating in this? And this is the main reason why I didn't post the video, because, as much as I wanted to, like, let people know and ask questions and stuff, there just weren't any answers. And I know that if I were to make a video saying, hey, could you guys help me out? Like, if anybody has any answers to, like, what's going on, please let me know. I know that would have, like, gotten to the inside of me, because people on the internet can be pretty rude and obnoxious, and I saw that a little bit in the college program chat, where people were like, oh, he's just doing this to mess with people, instead of giving me like actual advice, like putting other people aside, just kind of like, hey, let me help out this one guy and like give him some advice that I know. But there were a few outliers, and that's what I have to stress. But it's just on YouTube, the platform is just so diverse. I wouldn't know what the response would be, and so I've been very persistent on keeping my mouth shut up to this point, because there were no answers. The entire situation was taboo to everybody. Nobody knew what the situation was, because there really wasn't a situation. Like, there was no way that anybody would have the answers to this, because it was such a unique thing, and it, thousands and thousands and thousands of people apply, and something happens to one guy. What are the odds that situation gets solved? And so that kind of gets into my head Thursday morning. And besides that, I wake up at 8, and the casting office opens up at 9. So I call at like 8:45. I'm like, I'm gonna be the first one there. Maybe they're walking in and they're doing this, but I want to be there, and I want to be on the phone talking to somebody at the crack of opening hours, because I need to be. I need to know what's going on. I need to get an answer. I've wanted to do this more than anything else in my entire life. I need to have some sort of direction as to what's going on. And so I sit on hold until about 9 o'clock, when I'm hearing like the background music there, and they're like, thank you for calling Walt Disney World Casting Office. This is the college program line. Don't forget to apply for the Walt Disney World College Program for a life-changing experience and a resume-building job career. And, all the normal information that you'd see on the website, just, visually being jammed into your ear. Imagine what the emails are that you get, like, the newsletters. It's like that, but it's just, like, vocal. So after sitting through that for, the 45 minutes on Wednesday, and then 15 minutes on that Thursday, I finally get told you're being transferred to the next agent. And I'm like, that's weird. Where did that come from? And so then I hear music. It changed, as if I was like being transferred to someplace else that wasn't the college program thing. And I think that was just because it was like to a physical person and not just like the standard like hotline number. And so it just disconnects. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Maybe it was an issue because I called before the office was open and the phones were just being funky because, digital calling and whatnot. So I then make a step to post in the college program chat again. I'm like, hey, I just called and I kind of got through to somebody that just like died. Like the phone just died. And somebody who was actually friends with me on Facebook, he private messaged me. He's like, just delete that post, and what I want you to do is, I think you should just call like the standard casting number, and they'll be able to, help you figure out the situation, rather than just listening to people who aren't really giving you information and just throwing suggestions out there. Here's a way to talk to somebody who can give you actual information. So shout out to David for, the very helpful suggestion to call casting. So I call casting. And, things kind of work their way through. So I get to, I would assume would be the secretary there, who's like, hello, thank you for calling Walt Disney World Casting Office. How can I help you? And I'm like, hey, I'm Darren. I applied for the college program, and I was denied on a technicality. I just want to talk to a manager or something. to kind of figure out what's up. And she's like, sure thing. Did you try calling the casting office? And I was like, yeah, I did. And then just like hung up randomly. And she's like, oh, okay, here, let me just transfer you over. And I was like, thank you so much for helping me. And so I get transferred after, another few minutes of, thank you for calling the Walt Disney World College Program Casting Office. Our hours are blah, 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 blah. And like it said hours this time. I was like, whoa, that's new. So I eventually get over to what I would assume would be the secretary there. She's like, hello, thank you for calling Walt Disney World Casting College Program Division. How can I help you? And I'm like, hey, my name's Darren. Told her the story, yada, yada, yada. She's like, I don't know how to help you there. And I was like, that's positive. And I was like, do you think you could transfer me, maybe not even a manager, maybe just somebody that, like, is able to, just talk for a minute and help me figure out what's up. And so I get transferred over to a recruiter, I would assume, who I told the situation to, and she's like, you know what, I think the thing is, it could be because you haven't started classes yet. And I was like, I start on Monday, like, it's Thursday. I was like, is that really going to make much of an issue, like, if it's just 1 week off? And she's like, I don't know why you would be denied. The only reason I could think of is because you didn't start classes yet. I'm just like, that's a pretty obscure reason, because I'm enrolled and, like, I'm in classes, they just haven't met yet. And I feel like that's such a, like, an on-the-line subject, because, like, what defines a class as meeting, besides, like, the physical, like, there-ness of it, and there's no way to detect that, through, like, Disney's end. And so I'm like, okay, can you just, like, help me out at all, or, do something? And she's like, sure thing. I'm going to talk to a manager real quick, and then we're going to call you back, and we're going to get back to you. And so I say, okay, thank you so much for your help. I look forward to hearing back, and, the usual thank yous and whatnot. So I get off the phone, and the first thing that goes through my mind is, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to get back to me. I think that they were just saying that, and I made the mistake of putting that doubt into my mind, and that doubt followed me all the way through the application process, because I began to think, what is my value to the Walt Disney Company to burden so many people into getting me a phone interview again? And, to not even just getting a phone interview, just getting somebody to answer, a simple question, So I start thinking about that, and I go down and watch TV, and a few minutes later, an unblocked number calls. And I know that casting is big on block numbers, so I thought it was really, like, peculiar that an unblocked Orlando phone number called me. And to be honest, I don't even know if it was, like, a casting phone. It could have been a cell phone for all I knew. And all I still do know. So I get a call, and she's like, hi, my name is such and such, and I'm the acting, day manager here at the cast member recruiting department, whatever the title of job is and the location. And I'm like, oh my god, thank you for getting back to me so quickly. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting, like, a few weeks or so. And she's like, no. Somebody came up to me, such and such came up to me and told me the issue, and, I'm so confused as to, like, what went wrong, and I think it was just a giant communication thing. But what they said was because you weren't enrolled in classes yet, like, the classes haven't started yet. You were enrolled in classes, but they haven't started yet, that you couldn't apply yet. And I was like, so am I screwed until, like, the spring? Like, I don't understand what that means for me to apply in the fall. Like, I don't understand where that leaves me, because at this point I had just been given an explanation, but I wanted the answer. An explanation isn't an answer. It's the reason behind a decision, but it's not an answer to a question. It's not the solution to the problem. So I said, I really want to go down in the spring. Like, I've wanted to do this since I was a little kid, and I've wanted to, be a part of the Walt Disney Company for the majority of my life, if not all of it. And I've, specifically wanted to do the Disney College program since I was in middle school, and not being able to do this is absolutely devastating to me. And so she's like, here's what I could do. If this is the issue, you can call again on Monday, and on Monday we can address the situation from there, because by Monday, like you said, you would have started classes by this point. So at this point in the road, you're pretty much set to go. And then we'll figure things out on Monday. I'll be in on Monday. You can, call the casting office and ask to speak to such and such, and then we'll take the situation from there, and we'll work on getting you a new phone interview at, like, the next available time as of Monday. I was like, perfect, thank you so much. You are a lifesaver. I appreciate it. You're the best. Thank you so much. And she's like, no problem. Have a magical day. And I was like, you too. So my nerves have settled a little bit, but I also had to come to the realization that I am out of a job as of the end of this weekend. So a feeling of urgency started to kick in, and I sent out a wide variety of job applications, and shortly after that I got a call back from a pharmacy saying, hey, we really liked your application, come in for an interview whenever available. She's like, I'll be in on Saturday. I'm like, perfect, I'll come in, and we can talk about whatever needs to be discussed at that point. Perfect. So Thursday turned out to be a much better day than Wednesday. And so I go into work, and they're like, so we can keep you on staff, but you're going to be working like the evening shifts, because we have enough people for the day shifts. We just need people like between 8 and 11. And I'm like, that's no good. I go to school between 8 and 11. And they're like, well, you should have told us that. And I'm like, I didn't expect to, need to make you aware of that, because my job hours were totally different than what I was told. And they were like, well, sucks to be you. I guess you're missing your first week of school. And I said, no. I ain't missing anything. So that pretty much ends my shenanigans with McDonald's. Although I did stay the rest of the weekend. I just wasn't on the schedule the following weekend, and that was the it of it. If they were able to take me off the schedule, I'm sure they were able to do it the following week and take me off again. So I'm working Thursday night, and we closed at midnight about. And at 11:30 or so, I check my email, and the place is dead. So I'm sitting there, and I'm checking my email, and I get an email from Walt Disney World Casting and Recruiting, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is, just to verify, what happened. But no, it was a response to my initial email asking what happened, and it said, Dear Darren, sorry to hear about what happened. Although we will, take into account your withdrawal of your application. I was like, whoa, withdrawal of my application? That was never discussed at any point in time. But I made sure not to let it bother me too much, because at this point I was fairly certain that I was going to call on Monday and everything was going to be fixed. So I didn't let it bother me too much, but it was still back in the back of my mind, and I'm like, my application right now says no longer in consideration, which means like you're donezo. And I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to get out of this. But sure enough, I go to sleep, and then on Friday I wake up, and I get woken up at about 8 a.m. from a different manager at Walt Disney World Casting and Recruiting, the college program intern division, who says, from another unblocked number, totally different unblocked number, who says, hey Darren, my name's such and such. I'm like, hey, how are you? It's very, get to the chase at this point, because I'm like, why is casting calling me? I thought I'm not supposed to talk to them till Monday. And she's like, yeah, you know what, I was just told about your issue. I went back and we looked at the files, and, it was completely an issue on our fault, and you shouldn't have to wait until the next round of interviews open up. And I was like, thank you for agreeing with me. But, no hard feelings, I guess. I understand it happens. There's a lot of people applying, and there's a few who just happen to get screwed up in the mix. So the conversation goes on for a few more minutes, and she's like, would you be able to talk more at 3 or 4 o'clock? And I was like, yeah, I don't think I have anything going on today. I don't have work till 8, so yeah, I should be free at 3 or 4 o'clock. And she's like, perfect, because somebody just canceled their interview a few hours ago, so if you want that spot, it's yours. And I was like, yes, please, thank you. Thank you very much. I will gladly accept that phone interview time slot. And if I did have plans, I would have canceled them. So I got a new phone interview, and then during the phone interview, I did something that probably not a lot of people would have done. I mentioned the issue, and the person interviewing me, I could assume had no knowledge of the incident, although for a very long time it sat in the back of my mind, and it killed me having this sit in the back of my mind of, this isn't a real interview, it's just a pity thing to shut me up, and I'm going to be, denied again anytime. And so on one side, I'm thinking, like, this isn't a real interview, so I'm like, I gotta hit this out of the park so that they know that I am worth it. Like, I am worth being the deviator of this issue, because I really want this really bad, and I stressed that in my phone interview. And then there's the other side. If I just had a dozen people go out of their way in this massive application season to go out of their way to get me a new phone interview and look into this issue that happened, all for me. And if that doesn't speak to you, that a dozen people, several of which were managers and like had hundreds of casting recruiters to look after, and those casting recruiters had thousands of applications to look at. Production halted in some areas to figure out how to get me a new phone interview, and discussions happened. Like, this wasn't something that like was just blown over. And so I get the phone interview, and those are the two thoughts going through my mind. It's either this is just something to shut me up because they know I won't shut up about this issue, or they're legitimately trying to help me out because I got screwed over and was put in a bad situation. And let me tell you something. The majority of companies in the world would have taken that first option, which is, let's just give them somebody to give them a fake phone interview and then just never mention it again. Let's just acknowledge that this was an issue on our part and never discuss it ever again. And, Disney wasn't like that. And that has been the epitome of this whole experience, is that through all the doubt and stuff, I was given a legitimate phone interview, and people took a considerable chunk of time out of their day to help me make sure that I was given a fair shot as everybody else. And that is why working for the Walt Disney Company is one of the most important things you could ever do in your life. Because through thousands and thousands and thousands of applications, I drew the unlucky straw, and they made it lucky. And so I went through the phone interview, and I had discussed this. I was like, hey, my dashboard says I'm no longer in consideration. Is that going to update, or, is my dashboard, like, broken? And she's like, no, I'll fix it, in a few minutes after your phone interview and stuff. It'll get fixed. Don't worry about it. So I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. And that was pretty much the last time I'd heard from the Walt Disney Company up until about Thursday. So let me go back a little bit further and say I went all of August without hearing back, and then I went all of September without hearing anything. And I heard that about after 3 weeks you're supposed to get an email saying, thank you for your consideration, the Disney College Program, or, something along those lines. We're still reviewing your application, so stand by. I never got that. Some other people never got it. So I didn't stress too much about that, but I thought, like, maybe something's broken because it was no longer in consideration, and now it is in consideration, and I'm sitting in progress. So I, that first thought of maybe I wasn't being given a real phone interview started to pierce up in my brain as time was going on and as things were progressing further and further. And so October then rolls by with nothing. And then this week I was on my way to class, and I was thinking about emailing casting, or, calling casting, being like, hey, I don't really need to know if I got in or not right now. Like, if I'm still waiting, I'm totally fine with that. But if there's something wrong with my dashboard, that's what I would like to know. So you can, like, guide me through if I'm just waiting or if there's an issue. So could you please give me an answer? And sure enough, the second I got into the school parking lot, got to my class and sat down, I got an email from Walt Disney World college program casting and recruiting, and I got accepted. I had checked my dashboard pretty much every single day between August and November 5th. And I had checked it every day at about 4 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock, I was accepted. It was nerve-wracking. And it really, this is what showed what getting accepted meant to me, because you have the ability working for the Walt Disney Company that you have nowhere else. You have the ability to create a memory for somebody that will last forever. And you have the ability to introduce somebody to something new, and you have the ability to make a change in somebody's life without even knowing it. To those cast members who helped me out during the initial areas of the application, they were just doing their job. They were just making sure somebody got a phone interview. But to me, that's so much more. And working for the Walt Disney Company, that's the opportunity that you're presented with is, you know, even if there are mistakes, you know, everybody makes mistakes, but even if there are mistakes, you have the ability and you have the power to correct those mistakes and make everything perfect. And that has completely set the tone of what my Disney College Program experience will be. Because of that issue, I feel as though I have gained a greater knowledge of the Disney College Program than anybody who has ever done it or will ever do it. Because right out of the gate, I was shown what it means to be a Disney employee. And you can read all you want and you could hear all you want from people, but until you experience something that is remarkable, out of thousands and thousands and thousands of dozens of thousands of applications, you know, a handful of people went out of their way, put everybody else to the side to work on me and to make sure that I was given a fair shot. And that's crazy. And so I was accepted as an attractions cast member, which is what I really wanted. It's what I really stressed during my phone interview. And I leave, my check-in date is February 9th, and then my check-out date is August 4th. So here comes the part of the video where I advertise myself. So if you enjoyed this video, and you enjoy me as a person, maybe, who knows, I don't know, you know, and you're looking for a roommate, hit me up, because I'm a sitting duck right now. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, more importantly, for listening to my story, and thank you to everybody who offered advice. I have a few people to shout out because they made the entire experience totally amazing. Thank you for Christy, who was my second interviewer, for giving me a very fair and very nerve-calming interview, and, you know, even listening to, like, the really quick summary in, like, 30 seconds of what happened. You know, thank you, Christy, for an amazing interview and being a fantastic recruiter. Thanks to both the managers who helped me get that. Thanks to the secretaries who I talked to and listened to me rant for a few minutes. And then I'd like to thank my girlfriend Corey for being absolutely amazing and supportive. Parents, grandparents, family, friends. Thanks to David again for the wonderful advice to call regular casting and not be put in the loop of the college program phones, because that was some good advice, and I really appreciate that, and that is what really set the tone of difference. You know, thank you to everybody who was in the DCP chat. I never had a chance to thank anybody because, like I said, this issue has been such taboo to everybody. Nobody has known, you know, really what to say or what to do, and so I felt almost obligated to keep my mouth shut about it and not say anything to anybody out of, you know, fear of what people would say in response, and I didn't want the wrong thing being put in my head, so I eventually elected to just keep quiet about it. And you know, in the few moments when I did talk, I really appreciate everybody who gave, you know, the words of support, and I never got to formally thank anybody because you know, I really wanted to keep this story, I guess, this tale quiet, because I didn't want saying the wrong thing to affect anything, so I made sure to keep myself quiet and keep those around me quiet. So yeah, if you're looking for a roommate, if you're looking for somebody to hang out with, hi, I'm Darren. Nice to meet you. You know, I love theme parks, and I love Orlando, and I love going there, and my foot just fell asleep. So that tells me I need to end this video. To those of you who are new to the channel, thank you for stopping by, especially this long. Jesus Christ, 35 minutes. And thank you for listening. To those of you who will like this video, I greatly appreciate it. To those of you who will comment the video, I'll try to respond. And to those of you who will subscribe, I am eternally grateful. My name has been Darren, and this has been the second part to my DCP applying video. Thank you all so much for the continual support, and I love you all. Peace.